Hello, and welcome to the podcast of Real Talk number 2. Now, the title of this podcast is going to be The High Cost of Bad Policing and Why Cops and Chiefs, not academics, must step up to fix it. I'm going to lay out some problems. I need you to help with the answers. This is going to be uncomfortable for a few minutes, but let's stare down the price tag of bad policing in South Carolina. It's not just bruised egos or viral videos. It's cold, hard cash ripped out of the taxpayers' pockets. Now, most departments can lean on insurance pools comprised of cities, counties, the state, schools, jails, and many other governmental institutions, and they use that to dodge the fallout of lawsuits. Cities and counties in states like South Carolina tap into funds like the South Carolina Insurance Reserve Fund to settle lawsuits or handshake deals between attorneys. I live in South Carolina, so this is where I started, and I've dug deep into the numbers here, spiked with a few jaw-droppers from across the U.S. I invite you to look into your statistics where you live and send them to me. The statistics scream a story. We're bleeding money, trust, and accountability. How do we stop it? The answer's not in some professor's computer. It's with the cops who've walked the walk. The statistics tell a story of its own. It's time for us to speak up, speak out, and get this fixed. There's a lot to consider, so get prepared. So the numbers don't lie. This is a taxpayer's nightmare. South Carolina's Insurance Reserve Fund is a gold mine of not so great information. I'll leave the URL in the notes at the end of this podcast where you can look it up yourself about what I'm talking about. It's public information. But they make it hard to extract the exact information you want. But if you stay at it, you can compile the information you need. I tried to contact them via email for information, but they never answered. Maybe they're not going to offer anything unless you hit them up with a FOIA. That's government workers for you. Between 2015 and 2019, the South Carolina Insurance Reserve Fund shelled out $91 million for claims against law enforcement. $53 million went to victims, and a staggering $38 million went to lawyers, the Insurance Reserve Fund, which the state of South Carolina hired to defend the lawsuits at up to $175 an hour. I'll give you my resources for that information at the end also. Now let's zoom into the second quarter of 2022. This is for only 3 months. False arrest in this state alone cost $2.25 million across 28 claims. That's averaging $80,450 a pop. And they drag on for an average of 3 years for a resolution to a claim. And some festered up to 9 years. Tell me, is there any incentive for these lawyers to resolve these claims quickly? Or is the incentive to string them out for years? Remember, they get paid up to $175 an hour. We'll talk about all this in a later podcast, as I've got a lot to say about this. So now we're going to fast forward to the first quarter of 2024, again, just for 3 months. There was $9.24 million in total claims paid out against law enforcement. In just fiscal year 2024, false arrest only claims paid out hit $3.87 million. Now, again, that's millions siphoned from roads, schools, or more badges, increased salaries, etc., straight to courtroom cash grabs. Nationally, this is a $1 billion dumpster fire. The Washington Post on March 9th of 22 tracked 25 major departments that coughed up $3.2 billion over a 10-year period. Over 40,000 payouts, and that's ignoring anything that was paid out under $1,000. One Detroit cop racked up 10 claims, costing the city $665,000. Then over 7,600 officers had multiple payouts, with 1,200 hitting 5 or more, and 200 topped 10 or more claims. I personally have a hard time believing these multiple payouts were from good cops. These repeat offenders tank the reputations of departments with solid records, leaving good cops to eat the stench. Why didn't the cities rectify this? The federal courts aren't sleeping either. Much of 2024, I saw 1,588 new civil rights filings, up 4.5% from the prior month of February 2024. There was 1,520. Every dollar is tax money, yours and mine, that could have hired more police, given raises again, or fixed potholes. Instead, it's padding all these attorneys' wallets with no accountability trail. Who's behind the false arrest, the brutality, the civil rights trampling, or negligent supervision? The Insurance Reserve Fund's data is like a vault. Claims like false arrest, sexual assault, or shootings, they vanish into the settled abyss. No names, no badge numbers, no clue if the officer got a slap, a seminar, unpaid vacation, or a promotion. Or maybe the officer was completely cleared and they decided just to settle because it was cheaper than going to trial. We don't know. The opacity fuels the fire for public unrest and officer distrust. Internet posts scream it. 9 million gone and we don't even know who effed up. Bad publicity and the lack of information is the real killer here. Insurance covers the cash payouts, but not the stink that bad publicity brings. A few bad officers on any department can cause a large organization to get a bad name, even if the officers in the department has an outstanding record of professional conduct and service to the public. Now let me give you some personal history here, because I know a little bit about this. I've been a street cop. I'm a retired detective sergeant from Massachusetts. I've had bogus complaints and lawsuits thrown at me. One of the lawsuits hit Superior Court. I testified for hours, and at lunchtime the judge tossed it out. I had one other lame lawsuit the insurance company settled behind my back. The insurance company cut a check. I knew nothing about it until I read it in the newspaper. Upon questioning the city what the hell was going on, I was told the insurance company had total control of the settlement and paid out a small amount agreed upon, as they said it was a lot cheaper than going to trial. I think the city also agreed to keep the lawyers' costs down and thereby keeping the insurance costs down, but I'll never know. I was never deposed for this lawsuit. This, to me, was unprofessional as hell, as all it does is encourage complaints and lawsuits from drive-by lawyers who know they'll get a settlement. All the complaints against me, they were dismissed, pure fiction. But the damage can linger for good officers. Credibility can be chipped, can be paid at. False gripes can gut an officer's career, and we can't let that stand unchecked either. So when an officer is nailed for unprofessional conduct, reprimanded, suspended, fired, whatever, should the complainant or the public ever hear the verdict? Departments tend to mumble to the complainant, "It's been handled," or "They've been disciplined," but clam up on the details. They won't give it out. Is that good enough? If a cop is willfully breaking laws or policies, doesn't the public, paying millions in fallout, deserve to know? Does a victim who may have been illegally cuffed, detained, or roughed up have a right to a closure? If charges and verdicts against the public are public documents, should an officer also be if a complaint is found credible and provable? Does an insurance company payout make a complaint credible? Absolutely not. Take my case I just described to you. When the insurance company paid it out, it hit the newspaper as a settlement and a win against the department from a drive-by journalist. They never talk about how small the settlement was. I was branded by the news as a bad officer, but the truth never came out. No one was interested in the other side of the story. This absolutely can cut both ways. I was never a fan of insurance settlements unless there is true wrongdoing, as it just invites more lawsuits. But right now, officers have nothing to say. They can't say anything about this. It's time for a change. Now I want to take a moment here and give a plug again for our sponsor, American Heritage CBD. They only sell federally legal CBD, which is available in every state, and you will find some of the lowest prices ever. And if you join the membership, you can get everything at 50% off. You just can't beat their pricing. Go to AmericanHeritageCBD.com, check them out, and order now. We have to face it sometime, and one of the biggest questions I hear from the public is, if we have to obey the law, don't police officers also? How do you say no to that? If the general public has to pay fines for minor offenses, should police officers have to pay for offenses that are intentional? Let me know what you think here. I believe this is a very, very interesting question, and I'd like to hear any reasoning from officers that say no. I have my reasons, but I want to hear yours first. Now, let's flip the script. Officers face revenge complaints also. Police officers in their normal course of duty will most likely at some time in their career will have a complaint or a lawsuit placed against them from some punk or someone they arrested. They want to get back at the officer for some reason or other, who may want to injure their reputation or wants to be able to get out of an arrest by offering to drop the complaint or the lawsuit if the DA drops the charges. I've lived it, hours defending lies, stress gnawing at my integrity. Reform can't just shield victims. It also has to protect good cops from bad faith. If you learn anything, balance does matter. Hold officers to a higher bar, but also hold the public to a high bar. Don't let the public's pitchforks swing wild on flimsy claims. This is where police chiefs and district attorneys need to step in and step up and file charges against anyone making false police reports. I know it's a tough road for some chiefs and DAs, and most of the time they just let it go with a warning to the person. That's bullshit. They don't want to spend the time or funds on issues they see as minor, but that also must change to protect the integrity of our officers. Here's where I believe real reform needs to kick off. Police chiefs. Yes, I said police chiefs. In South Carolina, most of them are employed at will. Councils or mayors can axe them for anything or nothing. No contract, no guts. Police chiefs can't push back, can't push for that $60,000 starting pay for rookie pay. They know the 12 weeks academy's training is a joke even if they can't say it. $9 million paid out statewide in lawsuits yearly keeps bleeding because they have to kneel to suits. Give them a contract, say 3 or 4 years, and watch them fight for their officers. They could demand $60,000 starting pay for the rookies and get much higher educated individuals that want to serve the public. They can fight to stretch rookie training to the national average of 21 weeks, not 12. They can fight for yearly training that keeps the officers updated on new laws and court decisions. Officers need stability in their leadership, not changes in their workplace every time a city council gets a hair up their butt and decides to fire and replace a chief on a whim. Strong leadership makes a strong department with great officers. Sheriffs get 4-year contracts when they're elected, but South Carolina chiefs are going to have to claw for it. No law is going to hand it over to them. They have to face down councils. Give me 4 years or I walk. By offering a contract, cities could be in a position to attract the very best person to become the police chief for their city, someone who could fight for the very best for their officers and the city, not someone risking the boot on a whim from a city council because they don't like his proposals or because his officers arrested a counselor's relative. School superintendents get contracts. Most get 4-year deals. Boards lock them in for stability. Chiefs, no stability. At-will pawns, and city councils dodge accountability. I've lived it. Cops need chiefs who fight for them, not fold. The job is tough enough without having to worry about politics every damn day. Yeah, it's going to take guts. It's going to take true leadership, but that's what the men and women under them want, need, and deserve. True, there will always be someone in the corner that will take the job as an at-will employee for a lesser amount, or will tell the city council they'll be at their service, but they will forever be walking on eggshells in their entire short term in office. I implore all chiefs to try and get a contract and support your officers with hardcore bargaining. Go to realtalkbehindthebadge.com. Contracts for chiefs? Why not? You tell me. Reforms drowning in academic ink, stats on brutality rates, theories on trust. They've got the grants and the podiums, but they've never wrestled a drunk at 2 a.m. or felt a fist to the jaw or faced an armed assailant while keeping cool. I've been there, adrenaline spiking, chaos roaring, then judged by Monday morning armchair generals and quarterbacks and half-assed journalists. Street cops live the grind. Years on patrol, not pages in a journal. We know where the policies choke and what works. Reform without our voice, it's resentment fuel, half-assed compliance at best. Great chiefs who've run departments, many have got the scars and the clout. That's what we need to fix this, not bureaucrats, desk jockeys, or PhDs who think policing's a spreadsheet or a walk in the park. In closing, the answers to police reform must come from police officers, not the academics, bureaucrats, desk jockeys, or the public who doesn't know a damn thing about policing. It must come from you and me, our brother and sister officers in the business of policing. If we don't act and speak out, they will, and we will forever be on the short end of the stick again. This podcast is hopefully where it starts, and I hope I'm not pissing in the wind. I hope over time we can discuss a multitude of items, accomplish this task, and come up with hard and fast solutions that can be submitted to legislators and written into law. So this blog is ground zero. I'm not here for theories or to hear myself talk. I want answers from officers who've walked the walk. You, me, our brothers and sisters in blue, we've got the grit to cut through all the bullshit. Academics can keep talking and tallying the cost. We'll build the cure. Join me at realtalkbehindthebadge.com. Drop your state, department. Let us know if you're active or retired, what you've seen, and what solutions you have in mind. It's out there. We just need to find it. Let's hash out hard fixes, stuff we can shove in front of lawmakers and make stick. We are just starting this journey, and we'd be pleased to have you join us. If you've got answers you'd like to share and you want to do it live, let me know. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, let me know. Thanks for bringing your boots to the fight. Go to realtalkbehindthebadge.com. That's realtalkbehindthebadge.com, and drop a comment or a rant. And if you can, drop a couple of bucks to help us out and keep this thing going. This podcast stuff ain't cheap or easy on a cop retiree's salary. So cops with scars, locals with gripes, your voices fuel this. Let's tackle the mess behind the badge together. Now you can view our podcast on YouTube, Real Talk Behind the Badge, as we make them. If you hit subscribe, you'll be notified of each podcast. Please hit like also. We're also on Facebook at Real Talk Behind the Badge, where you can also view all our podcasts. Thanks to all our brothers and sisters behind the badge. Keep it going, and we'll get this fixed. Stay safe. This is Real Talk, signing off until next time. Thank you all, and take care.